Hey everyone, welcome to the Collecting Rod. A few days ago, I went to the 2025 Telford card show here in the UK. This is the first of a series of card shows that I will be attending this year, and I thought I could talk a little bit about how to prepare for them, because going without a plan can be very frustrating and expensive. I will also take this opportunity to show you my pickups from the day and talk about the show itself at the end of the video. Let's get into it. The first thing I would recommend when going to a card show is to get early access tickets if possible. It gives you time to start browsing and figuring out what everything is before it gets super packed with people. And it usually gets very crowded. It can also be a good opportunity to snatch some really good deals before everyone else. Early access tickets vary, but usually they will let you in half an hour to an hour earlier, which doesn't seem like much, but trust me, it does make a difference. In my case, I got the tickets for the show a few weeks in advance because it's a relatively small event. If you're going to a more popular one, keep an eye out because early access tickets can sell out fast. Now for the second tip, which is to plan ahead. Make a list of cards you're looking for and a ballpark for the prices. It also helps if you can have images of the cards you want so you can ask about them to vendors and make life easier for everyone. I kinda messed this up in the card show, but we'll get to that later in the video. Of course, there can be still room for impulse purchases or finding cards that were not in your original plan. But if you make a plan, at the very least you will have a goal in mind and won't be mindlessly browsing through everything, panicking about what to get. In my case, I was planning for two parts in my collection. The first one has to do with Prismatic Evolutions and its Japanese equivalent Terrestrial Festival. As I mentioned in a previous video, the pull rates I got from Prismatic were so bad that I decided to switch to Japanese. But here's an interesting piece of information. Pokeball and Master Ball Holos in English and Japanese use different artworks, except for Espeon and Umbreon. This is because they decided that, in English, the new evolutions would be released as promos, using artwork from previous sets for the Pokeball and Master Ball variants. As I had already gotten a few Pokeball Holos from the English set, and another couple of them from the Japanese one, I decided that I would try to collect both the English and Japanese Pokeball Holos to have both evolutions art with this pattern. I went for the Pokeball Holos and not the Master Ball Holos, purely because of price. Pokeball Holos are way less expensive than Master Ball Holos. I do have, however, the Japanese Sylveon as a Master Ball Holo, but that's only because I actually pulled it. I also want to complete the Terrestrial Festival access page, as I'm only missing two of those and they should be fairly inexpensive. The other part of my collection I'm working on is this spread for the legendary birds and the legendary beasts. The concept is to have their leaders in the top row, the birds and beasts in the second row, and their alternate forms in the last row, which would be the Galarian version of the birds and the Paradox version of the beasts. As you can see, I'm missing all of the beasts, so my goal was to find one or two of these cards, as they are quite expensive. Finally, I also wanted to leave some room for unplanned purchases, as I knew I would see something I would like at some point that's not in my list. And talking about buying stuff, make sure you take a binder with you. Even if you don't plan on trading, you need a place to store the cards you buy safely. My personal choice would be a top loader binder because most of the cards in these shows use them, and I don't want the hassle of having to take the cards out of the top loaders to put them in my binder. You can also use a top loader box, but I find those a little bit more awkward to handle and find things quickly. And this was actually my first mistake. Although I did take a top loader binder, I didn't really plan on how I would store the cards in it, and so I didn't really save space for them. This meant that I was buying cards and storing them in random pages that were half filled with cards from my personal collection already, which made them quite difficult to track. Also, if you plan on trading, I would recommend using a different binder, only with the cards you want to get rid of, mostly to avoid confusion. The last thing, but arguably the most important, is to set up a budget. It can be really easy to overspend if you're not careful. One way of making sure you stay within your limit if you struggle with budgeting is to use cash, as it physically runs out as you buy stuff and it would be impossible to go over it. I personally don't do this though, I prefer not carrying cash if possible, although I would have a certain amount in case some vendors don't take card payments. But if you decide not to use cash like me, I would take pauses every once in a while to account for the product you have bought and how much of your budget is left. And before starting with my pickups, If you're enjoying this video, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. So, at the end of the day, I bought 12 cards in total. And, to be fair, I managed to stay within my budget. Actually, I ended up under budget because I was trying to find some sealed product to open, but I couldn't find anything at MSRP. The first couple of cards were Vaporeon X and Flareon X, which I found almost immediately after entering the event. They were quite inexpensive and I was very happy with this because I was able to finish that specific page in my binder, which is always super satisfying. After this, I messed up. A second time. Remember how convoluted the whole Pokeball Holo Evolutions thing was? Well, I didn't plan very well for it. I thought that I could get away with taking a couple of pictures of the pages where I was missing the evolutions in English and Japanese and work from there, because I do know the average prices of those cards. But the problem is, these pages are very similar and my phone screen is not big enough to see the difference at a glance, which led to me buying a Pokeball Holo Glaceon in English, which I already had. In any case, it's already listed on eBay, so at least I will recover what I paid for it. I also managed to snatch a Vaporeon, Leafeon, and Sylveon Pokeball Holo. And with those, I finished my English Pokeball Holo page. Interestingly, I could not find any of the Japanese evolutions I'm missing. I kept finding the ones I already have, so that was not great. No progress with that page. Then, I got my first impulse buy, this Japanese Umbreon V that I always thought looked awesome. This is actually going to my full art evolutions page that I have for arts I like from different sets. I then started to look for some of the beasts, but I could only find them graded. And you know how I feel about graded cards. So I was super happy when I saw this Suicune and Entei V within my price range. I couldn't find the Reiko though, which is a shame because it's the one I like the most. And I also couldn't find any other Paradox beasts, but then I found something that made me change my plans. This Raging Bolt from Terrestrial Festival. I had completely forgotten this card existed, and I actually really like it. So I decided that I would get this instead of the Temporal Forces one because I don't like my pages to have too many cards from the same set. And that leaves me with the last two cards I got, which were not planned at all. The first one is this Espeon promo. Espeon is one of my favorite evolutions and I love the art in this card. It was also super cheap, so I couldn't resist. The last card is my favorite card that I picked up, the Japanese Shining Mew from Shining Legends. I saw this card at the beginning of the event, but I decided to pass and moved on. But my mind kept coming back to it, so I decided to circle back when I was about to leave to see if it was still there. And when I saw that it was, I decided that I had to get it. And I'm so glad I did, because otherwise I would still be thinking about it today. Overall, this event was a great experience. People were super nice, vendors had fair prices for the most part, and I got a lot of the stuff I was looking for and some unexpected surprises. And that's it for today. I hope these tips help you in your next card show, and let me know in the comments how you prepare for these events. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, catch you later. Bye!